Today we take our skills up a notch to include some acrylic that is going to be spliced together to make a pen. So stay tuned.
Hit it! That's what I'm talking about.
Wait! Okay, now, from the beginning.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Wolf Ridge Woodworking. Today's pen is really cool. I've made a couple of these pens for various people, my son included, or actually my two sons. Can't forget about one, they get jealous. But anyway, so today we are making a football pen. Let's see if it focuses. And it's from Penn State. I'll have the link down in the description. And what we're going to do is we're going to be combining different pieces of acrylic to make one blank. So let's get started. So the very first thing that we need to do is we need to get the tubes. And this is a two-piece pen. And what we need to do is first figure out what our overall length is going to be, because when we start to cut the splices of the acrylic, we're going to need to figure out how long we need it. So I'm going to actually go a little bit longer. So you know, they are about 1 7/8 long. Let me just double check and make sure they're both the same length. So this one's a little bit longer. It's close to 2 inches. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm just going to call it 2 1/4 inches for both of them. So as I go and I design the look that I want, I'm going to keep in mind that my overall length that I've got to do is 2 1/4 inches. So now it comes the artistic portion of our project today, is to figure out kind of how do we want to cut this up, how do we want to make it look. So let's do that. So this is an example of what we are going for. This is my son's New England Patriots pen. And you can see that we've got slices of the white, the blue, and the red. So I'm going to be coming up with something like that for the 49ers. The only challenge is I probably won't put as much white in this pen, because the 49ers is really only the lettering that's the white, but the main colors are the gold and the red. So it'll be predominantly that. So I'm going to mark this up and then head over to the bandsaw and cut that. So according to the cut sheet that I designed, I'm going to set up the blade in my jig here in order to get the right cut. So I'm going to group the cuts together. So if it's a 1/2 inch and I've got 3 pieces that need a 1/2 inch, I'm going to leave the stop set at the 1/2 inch mark and make all of those cuts. It speeds up the timing so that you're not readjusting, and you can make sure that you're getting consistent cuts. So that's what I'm going to do now. Is I'm going to set up this stop block that I've got here in my jig and line it up, and I'm going to be on the other side of the pencil so that I can make sure that I'm not cutting into it. And that looks like about right. So I'm going to make all of the cuts for my 1/2 inch pieces, and I'll be back in a minute. So now we have all of our pieces cut. They're lined up in the way that we're going to glue it up. So now that we need to sand it. So I've got some 400 grit sandpaper. I'm going to try that. I think it should do pretty well. We just need to, make sure that it's going to be a smooth connection when we glue it up, and make sure there's no gaps when we do this. So I'm just going to go ahead and sand each one of these and get it prepared for glue up. So now we need to clean off the dust and just make sure that we get all the oil off of the blank, so that we get a good adhesion with the glue. So I'm just going to clean it with a little isopropyl alcohol. All right, so let's again, we're using medium CA glue. I've got wax paper down to try to keep it from gluing to the surface. So what do we start with? The easy side or the numerous side? All right, let's go ahead and do this. So we are going to start the glue up. better job. So now let's just take some of this glue off. And then we'll set it aside and let it dry, and then we'll be back. So we'll see you back in a minute. So we're going to drill this blank. It's glued up sufficient enough time that it's solid. So we added excess onto the end of our blank, because this is really only supposed to be a 1/4 inch here. So what we're going to do is we're going to drill from this side, and then any excess we'll trim off when we go and put it in the sander. So we're going to just tighten this down, and we are going to drill this, and we are going to take our time. I like to do an inch at a time, back it out to clear it out when it's acrylic, especially when it's put together with glue. I guess maybe I just err on the side of caution. So you're going to see me coming in and out as I go through this, and really just taking my time to make sure that I don't have any issues. So we're going to get started. I'm going to set this up, back that off a little bit, and then we are going to drill at 500 RPM, and again just take our time, do it inch at a time, and back out. Okay, so that's good. So now what we got to do is take this lower assembly, or upper, whichever it is. Okay, as you can see, both ends, if I can line that up, both ends look great. Okay, so we'll be able to trim some of that off. So again, in looking at this blank here, we are going to turn, this is a little bit extra here. So we are going to go from this end, so that if we do have a blowout, we've got some to trim off at the end. Okay, so now we're prepared to glue the tubes in. So I've got it set up. So what I want to do is I want to insert and glue the tubes from the inside position. So this is the upper and this is the lower. So it's going to be kind of like this. I said it a little bit backwards, but this is the way I want to go in, so that I can trim more from that end, and I'm going in from this end so I can trim more from this end if necessary. That's dealer's choice, because it just depends on the aesthetics you're going from. I don't want to trim more off of that. I want to make this thinner, is the reason why I'm going here. This one here on this side, you can see it's already pretty thin, but I can come off on some on this one. So that's again why I'm going to go in through here, so there'll be a larger gap here than here, and I can trim this off at the sander. Okay, so that's my theory, and that's how I'm going to do this. But again, it's up to you how you want to do this. There's no set way, so to speak, to do this. So we're going to glue this up using medium CA, and we're going to again apply a liberal amount. And we're going to just rotate it, so that we can make sure we get the glue all the way around. And then we're just going to just put it just below the surface, wipe off the excess, and just be careful, because if you move that around, that super glue actually, before it dries, acts as a lubricant, and if you're not careful, the tube will come out through the other end. So just watch that when you're moving it around, make sure it doesn't go too far in on you. All right, so now we're going to do the other tube. Same thing as before. Just under the surface. Wipe the glue off. And now we'll just wait for these to dry, and then take them over to the sander. So now I have the blanks mounted to the lathe. I'm going to be turning it down to the bushings using my square carbide cutter and my round carbide cutter. And I'm going to be turning this at a pretty high RPM, around 2600 RPM. You really need for acrylic to be turning it at a faster rate. These tools, I just sharpened them to make sure that there's not any problems with any of the turning. So sharp tools, high RPMs on the lathe when you're turning acrylic. So now we've got it turned down to the bushings. Now we just need to go through the micro mesh grits, so from 1500 to 12,000, and then we'll apply a plastic polish. So I've laid the parts out according to the instructions, and now we're going to assemble it. So the first step is to place the tip nut into the lower end of the lower barrel. Okay? Just press that into place. Then we screw on the football. Okay, and then what we need to do is there are laces on the football. I don't know if you can see that on the camera or not, but this will show up in the steels that I have at the end. And then what we need to do is we're going to line the laces on the football with the 50-yard marker on the center band as best we can. Because I won't tell anybody, if you don't tell anybody, that it's not exactly straight. Okay? So I think that's pretty much aligned. I think that'll work. Okay? So now we unscrew this, the football. We're going to screw on the mechanism. Well, if I can do this. Well, it does not want to cooperate. There we go. I'm going to blame me and not the mechanism. Okay. So now we are going to drop the refill down in. Now we can put the football back on and screw that in. Okay, now we can move the mechanism. Okay, and now what we need to do is assemble the cap. So this is the end, and we need to press in the clip cap. Okay, and then the clip, and what I like to do is align the football player with the stadium, the front of the stadium, and then just tighten that up. And the stills at the end will have a lot more detail in here, so it'll make sense. And then what I like to do is when the pin is closed, I like to align the football player up with the laces, and that 50-yard marker. So we press those together, and now we have the assembled pin. It's a really nice pin. It makes a great gift. So I will put stills at the end, and I appreciate it if you like this video, if you would click the like button. If it's something that you're interested in and you want to see a future videos, please hit the subscribe button and share it with anybody that you think that might be interested in watching somebody make pins. And so I can't wait to see you on the next installment of Wolf Ridge Woodworking. Thank you for stopping by, and have a blessed day.